Having a blended family in the church is really isolating, and I want to talk about it. I'm part of a couple different groups of moms in my church, and I love them. They're incredible. They're amazing. But there's a general trend that I've noticed that I feel like we need to talk about. In these groups, there tends to be the assumption that all of the families present are traditional families, and all of the moms present have their kids full-time and are moms in the very traditional sense. And as someone who only has my biological child 50% of the time and my step kiddos 30% of the time, it's honestly really alienating to see the church view the traditional family as what feels like the only valid option. And I really don't know what I'm looking for here. It's not like everyone needs to change to accommodate me and my type of family, but it's just something that I feel like we need to be aware of. My experience as a mom, my version of motherhood looks vastly different than what I hoped and dreamed it would be. I didn't choose this, I didn't want this, but here I am. I share holidays with my kiddo. I share big events with my kiddo. I didn't get to take him trick-or-treating this year because he wasn't with me for this Halloween. And while my co-parenting situation is wonderful and my co-parents are great and they love our son and we get along really well, it's still just not what I hoped and dreamed of. And it's also not the norm that the church puts out. And that's fine. I want to be clear that God intended for families to be a certain way. God intended for a mom and a dad to be in the home with their kids. But unfortunately, with the world we live in a fallen world. And that's not always the case. Mom and dad aren't always in the same home. Kids don't always have just one place to live. So if you are in the church, whether you have a traditional family or a non-traditional family, I just want to encourage you to be aware. There are other families out there other than yours. There are other setups out there other than yours. There are other experiences of motherhood out there other than yours. And I just think that it needs to be talked about and it needs to be validated. I'll be super honest, sometimes sitting in a room of other moms who I know have their kids full-time feels really alienating because I can't relate to a lot of the things that are talked about, and there's not a lot of discussion around this. So if you have a blended family and you are in the church, or if you have an experience of motherhood that's much different and not what you were hoping for, I see you, I hear you, you are valid. And for those of you who do have a traditional family, for those of you who do have your kids full-time and you see families in your church who don't have that, try to be aware of it and try to be compassionate and try to speak up for them. Having a blended family is beautiful and wonderful, but it's also really hard. And especially as part of the church, it can be really isolating. So, something to think about. If you have a blended family and you're in the church, I would really love to hear your experience, whether it's the same as mine, whether it's different. I just would like to hear from other people who can relate to this, because I don't know many people who can. So, share your experience with me.